It's like it's still mind-boggling when I go in there and rap, because it's like the same craft and the same hobby, and it turned serious.
Now, Lil Baby is a rapper who was on top just a few years ago. These days, Lil Baby is just not as popular as he used to be. What exactly happened to Lil Baby and his career? This is definitely one of the most relevant conversations in hip-hop right now. Now, what's going on with you today? So today I want to have a little conversation about what happened to Lil Baby, and did he fall off? So you seen the clip I played you at the beginning of this video, which was an episode from Lil Yachty's podcast. He had Lil Baby on as a guest, and this interview has been making its way around the internet. Lil Baby spoke on a lot of things like his relationship with Gunna, which is non-existent according to him, which is obviously very unfortunate. He also spoke about the rap game, his career, the streets, which is of course very relevant to his career because Lil Baby is considered a street rapper. More specifically, I want to discuss something he said on this specific part right here.
And now I gotta watch what I say, I gotta watch what I do, because I'm watching how society trying to do rappers. You know what I'm saying? I understand why they trying to do it, because some rappers fuck it up for everybody. And it's like, damn, now I'm in this pool. So it's like harder for me to just go in there and rap how I used to rap. You know what I'm saying? That shit a whole different ball game.
So I can't play the entire clip, but Lil Baby on the first part was essentially talking about his career as it relates to why he's lost out on that fire in his belly. On one part, he spoke about being more conscious about what he says, which partially stems from him being a street rapper, because street rappers, as you guys know, they say a lot of things that could get him in trouble. We're going to talk about that aspect later on in the video. But one of the things it sounds like he was hinting at is that he's just not as hungry as he used to be. I'm sure a lot of people know who Lil Baby is, but Lil Baby is a rapper who's been doing it very big in the rap game ever since 2018. That's really when Lil Baby became a known figure on a mainstream level. Ever since then, he's put out a lot of great records, some really great projects like My Turn, which came out during the pandemic in 2020. And 2020 was undeniably Lil Baby's year because that was the year that he reached his peak in popularity. Lil Baby was one of the biggest rappers in hip-hop in 2020. I think most of us who paid attention know that. He was literally everywhere. He was one of the most streamed rappers of that year. A lot of his songs from that particular project did extremely well. My Turn in the end, I would say, became a trap/street classic. I still listen to that project, and I think it's definitely held its own weight for sure. And the numbers say the same. During that year, he also dropped The Bigger Picture, which was an extremely impactful rap song that reflected the times. Lil Baby turned into a conscious rapper for that one record, and the song was a really big moment because of everything that happened back then. Ever since 2020, which was the height of his popularity, like a lot of us know, Lil Baby is just not as hot as he used to be. Now, this is for several reasons, but the biggest reason I would say is because the quality of the music just isn't as good as it used to be. Quality is of course subjective, so you can agree to disagree, but the general consensus seems to be that Lil Baby just doesn't sound as good as he used to sound. Aside from the subjectivity, I would say that a lot of it has to do with the repetitiveness as far as the content in his music. Lil Baby is a street rapper who raps about the streets, guns, money, lifestyle, passion, life, women, hunger, getting out the mud, and he makes music that has a story to it. But it's more on the lit side, and that's exactly why I've always listened to Lil Baby. I don't know about you, but I don't listen to Lil Baby to hear about the political and economic state of the world. I listen to Lil Baby when I want to hear some turn up shit and get motivated. And I feel like that's relevant to most people. Lil Baby's content overall hasn't progressed all that much, but I would say that he still has his place in the game. I still listen to his music, just not as much as I used to. There's a lot of great artists that have came out ever since Lil Baby was very popular, especially street rappers. So there's a lot of options for people to choose from. And it seems like the general perception is that he's just not that guy right now. Although his last project didn't do all that bad. I mean, it did over 200,000 first week, which is solid numbers. But that was 2 years after he was going crazy, so it does make sense. Ever since then, Lil Baby hasn't dropped anything that's made a very big splash. Now, he was featured on that Central C record, Band for Band, which ended up becoming a really big song. But it's of course not his song, and the perspective for a lot of people there seems to be Central C helped Lil Baby revive his career, which is a crazy thing to say because I think Lil Baby can hold his own. But if we take a look at the numbers, Band for Band has been the biggest thing Lil Baby has been a part of for the last 2 years. And don't forget, Central C is a UK rapper. He also dropped a song in early 2022 called Right On, which I feel like is really underrated. That's probably one of the best songs he's dropped in a while. Aside from that, he was featured on that one Nav record alongside Travis Scott, and then at the end of 2023, dropped a 2-pack with a song called 350 and another one called Crazy. A few months ago, he was featured on Bossman D-Lo's song, he's a new successful name in the scene, called PJ, which is a banger, I like that joint. And then very recently, he dropped 2 songs that I think are worth listening to, Insecurities and 5 AM. Aside from that, Lil Baby hasn't made that big of a splash, and the conversation now is, did he fall off? This conversation was really relevant last summer because, as some of you guys might remember, Lil Baby made headlines for canceling several dates on his upcoming tour, which was supposed to start, I believe it was in August 2023. Around 3 weeks before it kicked off, he essentially canceled multiple stops without explanation. In other words, he wasn't able to sell out those venues. This was a really big story back in 2023, and I feel like that's when the topic of his fall off became a conversation. These days, people aren't checking for him like they used to, and it does make sense. This is not even necessarily a reflection of the fact that he's completely let himself go, because I still think Lil Baby has his place in the game. I mean, like I said, he recently dropped 2 very good songs that I've had on repeat personally, so clearly he still got it. It's more that the times in the music industry, but specifically hip-hop, are changing. Ever since the pandemic, a lot of rappers and artists who were hot during that era are just not talked about anymore. Although streaming has dominated the music industry for over the last decade, a lot of the rappers who became hot off of the streaming era have seen a significant decline, and that includes Lil Baby. A lot of it, I think, has to do with how fickle music is now, and if you're not an artist who talks about things that actually matter in the real world on a consistent basis, personally, I don't think you're going to stick as much as the person who does cover those real life topics. This is of course not always the case, right? But a lot of those rappers who may not be that relevant to the majority of hip hop fans, like NF is a good example who we spoke about in that Lil Baby video from 2023, a lot of guys like that are literally selling out arenas just like that. I mean, a guy like NF sold out 20,000 people for multiple stops during his last tour. And most hip-hop fans would definitely consider him irrelevant. Now, NF is a very different case, and I definitely think he's the polar opposite of Lil Baby 1000%. But I want to use him as an example because it highlights that relevancy within the conversation of hip-hop isn't always the most important thing. What's more important than that is that you connect with your fan base. And for someone like Lil Baby, I think a lot of the hype surrounding him and his name has been generated by the music industry, the blogs, and not as fan-driven as it should be. That's why you don't tend to meet die-hard Lil Baby fans. I mean, ask yourself this question: when was the last time you met someone who said, I'm a diehard fan of Lil Baby? It's almost like they don't exist, which of course they do. It's just that certain artists thrive heavily on a cult-like fan base, while other artists are more propelled by general hype. That then feeds into an audience. In the end, it all leads to a fan base, but the question is, what kind of fan base does it lead to? Now, when that base isn't fan-driven, what tends to happen is you have a situation like this. You're at the top of the world for a year or two, and 3 years later, they're saying that you fell off, which has reflected itself in the numbers, so it's not coming out of nowhere. There is a lot of validity to that statement. However, from another angle, the good thing about someone like Lil Baby is that he still has a track record of consistency. On top of the work he's already put in, he also has an extensive catalog. And to be fair, this is another important factor of this conversation. Not every music listener knows who Lil Baby is. So if he, fucks around and gets another hit, all those new listeners are going to discover Lil Baby like he's a new artist, which is the dope thing about being a musician. You can be globally famous and still sometimes be unknown to certain pockets in certain demographics. Another aspect of this conversation as it relates to Lil Baby is the streets. Street rappers are slowly losing a grip on a culture, which is something I'm going to talk about soon. But Lil Baby actually kind of touched on this during his conversation with Lil Yachty.
This shit real. I seen him. I watch Young Thug try every day. I seen him. You really use stuff against him that don't got nothing to do with nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that right there could scare you. And then I'm one of them guys who I'm like pretty hands on, but that could be you. Now,
Lil Baby is a rapper who raps about the streets like a lot of other cats. And now he's seeing a lot of the guys he once called peers getting locked up, like Thug, who's of course out now. But Lil Baby is actually reevaluating the things he's saying in his records now. And this is a very real thing because the feds, right, I'm sure we all know this, but they really pay attention to hip hop right now. I mean, rappers are still committing crimes and rapping about it for millions to consume. Just take a look at Lil Durk, who's currently behind bars. Lil Baby is in the same boat where people expect him to be on a certain type of energy, and he's feeling the pressure of that. And this is such a big aspect of his career because of the pocket we put him in. At the end of the day, being a rapper in this lane comes with things that can be understood. For someone like Lil Baby, he grew up in the exact environment he's rapping about. And obviously he feels torn between keeping it real and saying just enough so the feds can destroy him. And this is something he's been talking about in his music for the last 2 years. On the intro of his last album, he said the following: "Nowadays ain't no time for me to kick it. Business too intensive. They're gonna say that I've been acting different, I'm beyond their mental. I moved on from slang and drugs and pistols, can't be thinking simple." And then on the song 5 AM, which is a song he recently dropped, he said, "I got feds on my trail, they be trying to connect me to dumb shit. I got lawyers behind me, I'm ready to tell them come on." So Lil Baby is very aware of what's going on. It doesn't actually take a lot for a lot of these street rappers to catch a RICO case, believe it or not. A lot of these guys have in their past committed crimes that could put them behind bars even today. So for them, all it takes is for the police to start investigating in the right places. and for them to start asking questions to the right people. So it's a very slippery slope, because this is part of the reason why Lil Baby is where he is. And if he has to sit there and think about every single thing that he says as it relates to rapping about the lifestyle that he raps about, that's obviously going to affect the quality of his music, because the quality of his music partially is dependent on how real he keeps it. It's the same with Lil Durk. I mean, if Durk wasn't out here putting out real life hits, would Durk be as popular as he is? Probably not. Actually, his music wouldn't even be that good if you keep it real. So factor in this, along with the change in times and the abundance of rappers, and him not having as much hype as he used to just in general because of the music, and we have the situation he's currently in. Personally, to me, it's kind of clear why Lil Baby isn't as popular as he used to be. But what do you think? Overall, I don't think Lil Baby is finished. He's still got it. I do, however, think he's going to have to win the public over by applying the same type of pressure he was applying in 2020. It's a hard task though, because let's just keep it real. Replicating a moment in time a different year is a very hard thing to do. In general though, it's really easy to tell that he's lost that grip he used to have. And I think that's partially why he's more open to doing media appearances. Obviously, he's way more well-spoken these days than he used to be back in the day. But another aspect of it is people actually want to hear you speak. You're not always going to be able to coast off of being cool, because that's how a lot of street rappers maintain their success. Now for Lil Baby to actually go past this point that he's currently at, he's probably going to have to win over the casual listener by showing more of himself, so those people can then become a part of his core audience. Anyway, if you made it this far, that means that you enjoyed this video. So make sure you drop a like on it. And if you're new here, by the way, my name is Blacky Speaks. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the family. Come in. We got plenty of room left. Anyway, what you guys think about this topic? Why Lil Baby isn't as popular as he used to be? I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the comment section below, but most importantly of all, I'll catch you on the next video. Peace. I'm out.